Welcome to the savage, brutal, and chaotic world of the Orks, the galaxy's most war-hungry greenskins. From the bone-crushing might of the Goffs to the lightning-fast speed freaks of the Evil Sunz, the flashy firepower of the bad Moonz, and the sneaky tactics of the blood axes, every Ork Klan brings its own unique madness to the battlefield. Today, we'll dive into the lore, culture, and battle tactics of the biggest and baddest Ork clans in the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Get ready to meet the looters of the Deathskulls, the primal warriors of the Snakebites, and the ruthless space pirates known as the Freebooters. This is the story of green-skinned warlords, each fighting for glory, loot, and the ultimate WAAAGH. Goffs, the brutal fist of the WAAAGH. The Goffs are the most violent and aggressive of all Ork clans in the galaxy. Among the greenskins, they are known for their unrelenting dedication to raw strength, discipline in battle, and sheer brutality. For the Goffs, war isn't just a means to an end, it's the only thing that matters. Goffs are easy to identify by their stark, black armor, often marked with bold white checks or jagged glyphs of conquest. Unlike the flashier clans, they have no interest in shiny weapons or decorated gear. To a Goff, nothing is more orky than a good, clean crumpin, preferably delivered with a massive choppa or power claw. Their belief system is simple. Might makes right. The bigger and tougher you are, the more authority you deserve. Goffs don't waste time with strategy, flashy tricks, or complex technology. They favor getting up close and smashing the enemy in hand-to-hand combat. Their mobs are tightly packed and devastating in melee, often led by towering knobs and war bosses who fought their way to the top. At the head of Goff society stands the most infamous Ork in the galaxy, Deathskulls Uruk-Thraka. Once a lowly Goff boy injured by a bolter round to the skull, he received a crude cybernetic enhancement from a rogue pain boy and mech boy. After the operation, Deathskulls claimed to hear the voice of the Ork gods, Gork and Mork, commanding him to unite the Ork race in a galaxy-spanning WAAAGH. Under Deathskulls' banner, the Goffs launched the Second War for Armageddon, a full-scale planetary invasion against one of the Imperium's key hive worlds. Millions of Goffs stormed the industrial world in massive mobs, overrunning outposts and strongholds in days. It took the combined might of the Astra Militarum, several Space Marine chapters including the Salamanders and Blood Angels, and the leadership of Commissar Yarrick to halt the Ork tide. Even then, the Goffs were not truly defeated. Deathskulls escaped, vowing to return. True to his word, he launched a third war for Armageddon, this time with an even larger WAAAGH, uniting Orks from multiple clans under his brutal vision. To this day, the Goff-led invasion of Armageddon remains one of the greatest Ork threats the Imperium has ever faced. The Goffs remain a relentless force in the galaxy, unyielding, disciplined by Ork standards, and driven by an insatiable hunger for battle. Where they march, cities burn, and the air trembles with the thunder of the WAAAGH. Evil Sunz, speed freaks of the WAAAGH. The Evil Sunz clan is obsessed with one thing above all else: speed. To the Evil Sunz, the fastest Ork is the best Ork. Speed is not just a tactical asset or a means of travel. It's a way of life, a philosophy, and a spiritual fixation. If it can move fast, explode loudly, or make a lot of smoke and noise, the Evil Sunz want it. This clan's vehicles, armor, and war gear are always painted red, because Orks believe that red ones go faster. In the strange warp-charged biology of the Ork race, that belief has a basis in reality. Red-painted machines do seem to move quicker and hit harder when used by Orks who believe they will. The Evil Sunz take this to the extreme, covering every tank, truck, bike, and buggy in layers of red paint, flames, and speed glyphs. Their attire reflects their obsession. Evil Sunz orcs are typically grease-streaked, engine-scorched, and loaded with exhaust pipes, goggles, and dangling bits of machinery. Their knobs often ride customized warbikes, and their mechs are constantly tinkering, tuning, and detonating whatever new engine they've slapped together from stolen parts. The clan's internal hierarchy is built around speed and technical skill. War bosses lead from the saddle of massive warbikes or from within roaring battle wagons. Mechs hold high status, as their ability to build and modify machines fuels the clan's appetite for fast-paced war. Speed freaks, a subculture within the clan, take the obsession even further, living entirely on wheels, constantly racing and fighting at breakneck velocity. One of the Evil Sunz' most infamous campaigns was the raid on Callaghan Rift. There, an entire armada of Evil Sunz warbands descended on the frontier world of Velostar, launching a lightning-fast planetary assault. Within hours, bike-mounted orcs and ramshackle buggies overran PDF outposts. Truck convoys cut across key defense lines, and looted aircraft screamed overhead, bombing supply lines. The local Astra Militarum forces, trained for trench warfare, couldn't respond to the orcs' blistering mobility. Only after the intervention of the Raven Wing of the Dark Angels chapter themselves, masterful bikers were the Evil Sunz driven off. Evil Sunz warfare is chaotic, loud, and relentless. Speed is their weapon, noise is their armor. They attack not with strategy, but with the kinetic force of an avalanche made of wheels, rockets, and metal. Their arrival is always announced by the roar of engines, the blare of crude horns, and clouds of black exhaust. Where Evil Sunz ride, nothing stands still for long, and nothing lives for much longer. Bad Moonz, Teef, Daka, and Da biggest Guns. Among the many orc clans that stalk the stars, none are richer, flashier, or better armed than the Bad Moonz. Known across the galaxy for their wealth and firepower, the Bad Moonz embody the idea that orc society is a brutal meritocracy, but one where the size of your wallet, or more specifically, your teeth, can carry as much weight as your fists. Unlike other clans who value raw power or speed, the Bad Moonz define status through wealth. This is because their teeth, which serve as the currency in orc society, grow faster than any other orcs. This biological trait gives them an ever-renewing source of income, allowing them to afford the best war gear, the loudest guns, and the biggest explosions. Bad Moonz dress the part. Their armor is painted in bright yellows and golds, the most expensive-looking colors as far as orcs are concerned. Their knobs and war bosses often wear extravagant trophies, gold plating, and oversized, customized weapons. Their shooter boys wield the loudest and most dangerous Daka available. Flash Gits, an elite group of vain, gun-obsessed orcs, are especially common among them, flaunting custom weapons too massive for most humans to lift. Hierarchy among the Bad Moonz revolves around wealth. The richest war boss holds power, and mech boys, especially those capable of crafting flashy and deadly weapons, are held in high regard. Gretchen are used as personal servants, ammo carriers, and often even furniture by their wealthier masters. A major Bad Moonz engagement took place on the Forge world of Galmech, where a vast Bad Moonz WAAAGH descended to loot rare plasma weapons and arcanotech reactors. Their superior firepower overwhelmed the planet's initial defenders. Legionary firepower was met with even more brutal Ork Daka, looted, customized, and amplified by mechs into deadly parodies of Imperial tech. It took the arrival of the Skitarii legions of Ryza and a force of Iron Hand space marines to eventually drive the orcs off-world. The battle left much of Galmech's surface scorched and defaced, but many key weapons and archaeotech secrets had already been looted. Bad Moonz do not value stealth, strategy, or subtlety. Their warfare is defined by volume of fire and displays of excess. If there's a louder, bigger, more unstable gun to fire, a bad moon will find it and pull the trigger with pride. To them, wealth is power, and firepower is the ultimate form of wealth. Where the bad moons march, the sky turns yellow with muzzle flashes, and the battlefield drowns in thunderous daka. Deathskulls, looters, scavers, and luckiest gets alive. Among the many clans that make up Orc society, none are more cunning, superstitious, or opportunistic than the Deathskulls. Known across the galaxy as master looters and salvage experts, Deathskulls see every battlefield and every enemy as an opportunity to claim something valuable. Deathskulls believe in luck above all. They are intensely superstitious and almost always paint themselves, their gear, and their vehicles blue, a color orcs universally believe brings good fortune. Whether it's stolen glyphs, random charms, or bits of sacred scrap, Deathskulls decorate their armor with totems and trinkets believed to bring Gork and Mork's favor. Their attire is chaotic and mismatched, typically patched together from looted parts, enemy gear, and salvaged machinery. They wear scrap metal plating, dangling chains, and Imperial iconography repurposed as decoration. Their vehicles are just as ramshackle, often cobbled together from half a dozen sources, some of them still bearing the original manufacturer's insignia. Deathskulls operate with a loose hierarchy. While war bosses still command with brute strength, mech boys and lutas often rise to prominence through clever scavenging and their ability to make things work even when they shouldn't. Weird boys, believed to channel lucky or divine energies, are also respected, if only warily. A key feature of Deathskull culture is their obsession with looting. During and after battles, they swarm wrecked tanks, downed aircraft, and fallen enemies to strip them of anything useful or shiny. They're known for sneaking into enemy camps, stealing weapons, and even hijacking working vehicles mid-fight. One major Deathskull confrontation occurred during the Battle of Gathrog's Hollow, an agri world that had recently been the site of a downed Imperial supply cruiser. While other Ork clans prepared frontal assaults, the Deathskulls infiltrated supply lines and seized the wreckage first. By the time the Astra Militarum realized what had happened, Deathskulls had already converted dozens of Chimera transports, heavy bolters, and Lehman Russ components into Orky war machines. The battle escalated into a brutal siege that ended only with the arrival of a Titan Legion, which leveled the corrupted site and much of the surrounding continent. Despite their lack of discipline, Deathskulls are dangerous not just because of what they fight with, but what they take. Every weapon fired, every engine revved, and every explosion set off may have once belonged to someone else, and likely still bears the marks of its original creators. They don't build empires, they loot them. And in the chaos of war, it's often the Deathskulls who walk away richest and luckiest. Blood axes, tactics, treachery, and un-Orky cunning. Among all the Ork clans that roam the stars, none are more distrusted by their fellow greenskins than the Blood Axes. Considered sneaky, un-Orky, and even traitorous by other clans, the Blood Axes have built their reputation not through brute force or flashy firepower, but through tactics, discipline, and cunning. Blood Axes were the first Orks to have meaningful contact with the Imperium, and it shows. They've adopted many human military practices, including structured formations, camouflage, saluting, and even retreating when a fight goes badly, all of which are considered bizarre, even shameful, by other Orks. Visually, Blood Axes stand out with their use of camouflage patterns, looted Imperial gear, and military-style uniforms. They paint their vehicles and armor in drab greens, browns, and grays to blend into terrain, a direct contrast to the bright and bold schemes of other clans. Their war banners often feature crude mockeries of imperial insignias with two-headed squigs or parody aquilus. Hierarchy in blood axe society favors those who can plan and deceive. War bosses are not necessarily the biggest or loudest, but the smartest, the ones who can ambush an enemy, organize a blitzkrieg attack, or outmaneuver rival clans. Commando units thrive in blood axe mobs, conducting infiltration, sabotage, and guerrilla raids. These orcs excel at night fighting, ambushes, and operating behind enemy lines. Blood axes are also known to hire themselves out as mercenaries, even to human forces, in rare cases. While this is seen as outright betrayal by other orcs, blood axes see it as just another way to get into a good scrap and get paid in the process. One of the most infamous blood axe campaigns was the infiltration of Hellwrath Bastion, an Imperial defense network on the fortress world of Myrrodin. Disguised in looted PDF uniforms, Blood Axe commandos infiltrated the Bastion's outer sectors, sabotaged its defense systems, and opened the gates to a full-scale WAAAGH. The garrison was caught completely off guard, and key supply routes were destroyed before the defenders could respond. Only a rapid response by the Cadian 43rd and the Grey Knights stopped the orcs from capturing the entire sector. Despite their unorthodox methods, the Blood Axes are brutally effective. They embody a different kind of orky strength, one that doesn't just charge forward, but thinks, plans, and strikes from the shadows. To the Imperium, they are a rare and dangerous enemy, unpredictable, organized, and disturbingly clever. Among orcs, they are mistrusted, but in war, few can deny their effectiveness. Because when the fighting starts, the Blood Axes don't just shout and smash, they outmaneuver, flank, and strike where you least expect it. Snakebites, the wild sons of the WAAAGH. Among the myriad Ork clans, the Snakebites are perhaps the closest to the greenskins' ancient primal roots. Unlike the flashy Evil Sunz or the cunning Blood Axes, the Snakebites reject most of the civilized trappings of Orc society. They embrace the raw, savage side of their nature, living deep in the wilds and fighting with brutal ferocity. The Snakebites are known for their connection to Orc tradition and the old ways. Their orcs often sport tattoos, bone decorations, and war paint, resembling the tribal warriors of ancient Orc culture. They wear little armor, relying instead on thick hides, scavenged teeth, and the strength of their bodies. Snakebites prize survival skills, tracking, hunting, and living off the land above all else. Their colors are generally earthy browns, greens, and blacks, helping them blend into the wilderness. Their glyphs often feature snakes, fangs, and lightning bolts, symbolizing their ferocity and affinity with natural, unpredictable power. Hierarchy among Snakebites is less about size or wealth and more about prowess in battle and leadership in the hunt. War bosses are usually the biggest and toughest, but they must prove themselves through repeated combat and survival against both the enemy and the harsh environment. Snakebites often reject the more civilized Orc inventions, like heavy vehicles or advanced weaponry, preferring crude but deadly weapons, massive axes, spears, and brutal choppas. A defining characteristic of the Snakebites is their bond with beasts, particularly giant squigs and savage war beasts. Many Snakebites ride into battle atop these creatures, adding feral fury to their already brutal charges. One of the most legendary Snakebites campaigns was the Battle of the Thundering Fang Jungle on the fringe world of Kreshkar. Here, Snakebites launched a feral WAAAGH that tore through the dense jungle and tribal human defenders alike. Using guerrilla tactics, they ambushed Imperial patrols, set traps with squigs, and called upon enormous warbeasts to break enemy lines. The Imperial Guard, unprepared for the savage onslaught and the jungle's deadly terrain, suffered heavy losses. Only after weeks of grueling jungle warfare and the deployment of specialized Pathfinder scouts was the WAAAGH finally pushed back. To the Snakebites, war is a sacred hunt, a test of strength and survival against all odds. They reject the flashy and noisy displays of other clans, favoring stealth, ferocity, and an unyielding connection to the natural world. Where snakebites roam, the wild calls and death follows fast and hard. Freebooters, the pirate lords of the WAAAGH. The Freebooters are the most infamous orc pirates and mercenaries in the galaxy. Unlike other clans who fight for dominance, speed, or tradition, the Freebooters thrive on plunder, greed, and chaos across the stars. They are the quintessential space pirates of the Warhammer 40,000 universe, unpredictable, cunning, and always hunting for the next big score. Freebooters are known for their flashy and eclectic style. Their armor and vehicles are a patchwork of looted Imperial and Xenos gear, often adorned with trophies and skulls taken from countless raids. They favor bold, clashing colors, typically bright reds, yellows, and greens, and display crude symbols and banners that declare their allegiance to no clan but themselves. Unlike the more rigidly structured Ork clans, Freebooters operate in loose warbands led by charismatic war bosses and pirate kings. These leaders rise through daring raids and battles, their power resting as much on their reputation and cunning as on their brute strength. Mechs and lootas are essential in equipping the Freebooters with looted weapons and vehicles refitted for piracy. Freebooters' warfare is defined by hit-and-run tactics, boarding actions, and brutal close-quarters combat. They specialize in space and planetary raids, striking vulnerable supply lines, convoys, and poorly defended settlements to plunder riches and technology. Their motto could well be, "Take what you want and disappear before anyone can stop you." One of the most notorious Freebooters campaigns was the Raid on the Iron Spine, a heavily fortified Imperial shipping convoy traveling through the Maelstrom Zone. Utilizing fast attack ships, raiding parties swooped in under cover of a warp storm, overwhelming the convoy's escorts with sheer ferocity and speed. The Freebooters boarded multiple vessels, looting weapons, fuel, and prisoners before disappearing into the warp. Despite a prolonged Imperial hunt, most of the Freebooters slipped away, leaving a trail of destruction and chaos behind. The Freebooters' reputation is one of ruthless opportunism. They are not concerned with clan loyalty or honor. Instead, they follow the call of profit and personal glory. This makes them both unpredictable allies and dangerous foes. Wherever there's wealth to be stolen, ships to be boarded, or systems to be pillaged, the Freebooters are sure to be nearby, ready to claim their share of the spoils in the endless WAAAGH of war and plunder. That's it for our deep dive into the wild, war-torn clans of the Orks. Which clan would you charge into battle with the brutal Goffs, the speedy Evil Sunz, or the cunning Blood Axes? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this journey into the savage heart of the WAAAGH, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit that bell icon so you never miss a video on Warhammer 40,000 lore. And if you want to see more videos like this, tell us which factions or battles you want covered next. Thanks for watching, and remember, when the orcs come knocking, it's time to crump.